Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Denise, aka MissNiseReads. Today I want to talk about my 2025 reading overview, just to chat about the ups and downs of this year's reading. So without further ado, let's get to yapping. Now keep this in mind, I also made a post about it on my Instagram, talking about it in like bullet point versions. So I'm going to be kind of relying off of that and just explaining a lot more. But I read 34 books this year. I'm not going to beat myself up about it because this year was a lot personally. So it does make sense on why I read a lot less this year than I did in previous years. 26 were physical, so we love that because I love getting my physical TBR down. I only read 8 Kindle books, which is not great because I told myself I wanted to lower it. But I did start. That's something I will say. I did start doing that. So we love that. Also, I will be putting up the little pictures somewhere on the screen for certain things. So, mind you, I'm basing this off of Storygraph because the way that they do like their overviews is top notch. I need people to switch over to Storygraph. A lot of the books, like the top 3 categories for like moods, were lighthearted, emotional, and funny. The emotional part makes sense. That's for sure. I'm honestly quite surprised though that funny is top 3. That is crazy. Mine is the top 3. We have mysterious, adventurous, hopeful, reflective, inspiring, dark, sad, tense, relaxing, and challenging. With tense, relaxing, and challenging being the bottom 3. I kind of want to change that a little bit, only because I don't know what it was this year. Would more likely be the fact of everything that I went through this year. So I'm just like, you know what? Let me stick to reads to keep me lighthearted. So it just makes sense on why it was the way that it was. For my pacing for reading, kind of is the same as last year, if I'm not mistaken. It was more at a medium pace this year. So medium was 55%, fast was 36%, and slow was 9%. That kind of surprised me a little bit because my pacing for reading, I felt like this year was so slow. January up until like probably a little bit after July, it was kind of solid. Like I knew I wasn't reading as much, but still but the later half of the year was just like, yeah, nah. It kind of made sense on why. Now the genres, this doesn't surprise me. Romance, manga, and contemporary are top 3. Are we surprised? No. However, I am happy though that manga has gone up because it was never that high. So I'm really happy because I told myself I wanted to read more manga, and I've been sticking to that word, and it's making inner Denise very happy. Minus the top 3, we have fantasy, sports, poetry, comics, memoir, mystery, historical, history, horror, psychology, short stories, thrillers, LGBTQIA+, erotica, race, video games, and middle grade, with race, video games, and middle grade being lower. I will say the poetry aspect is slowly but surely going back up. I'm really happy about that, but I'm also a little bit displeased. I read a lot of poetry during the beginning half of the year, but the later half, I don't know what it was. Like, I also have been reading a lot of like poetry anthologies. Like that's something, but like that's an anthology. I just hope that for 2026 I do continue to be more on it about my poetry, because that is one of my first loves, if we're being quite honest, because poetry has gotten me through a lot. I went to school for it at that too. So also, fantasy being 4 is quite surprising, considering fantasy, mystery, horror, thriller was not it this year, and it was quite sad because I wanted to be in my fantasy mood like every year I would always be in. I never had an issue trying to read fantasy, but for some reason this year my mood reading headspace was just like, you know what, we're not in the mood for fantasy or mystery or horror or thriller. We're not in the mood for that at all, and I really hope that changes because it's getting a little annoying for my liking. Another thing, I do want to get back into reading short stories again because I had to read a bunch of short stories in college. I don't know why I stopped. I do plan on reading more short stories. Sure. So, very excited for that. My average rating was literally 4 stars. I had very few 5 stars this year, and I had a lot of 4 stars. Not saying that's bad, because 4 stars is still a good rating. Maybe that'll change for 2026, who knows? But then again, my reading has evolved throughout the years as well. That could be just another thing. But yeah, despite my mood reading, it was still like a lot of the books that I read were really good. So let's talk about the pros and cons. This year, I did a lot better in terms of separating leisure reads and books I do actively want to talk about on social media. To give you an example, The Legendborn Cycle is a series that I'm casually reading because I want to take my time, and especially I still need to finish Bloodmark because I need to get to Oathbound. That has gone so much better. So I'm very excited though, because I do want to talk more, obviously more books, duh, but like on my blog, that I want to do a lot better in terms of that as well, because my goal originally was a post a month, but like I said, this year was a lot, so I wasn't really able to fulfill that promise. And then on top of being a mood reading, a reading slump half the time, like it just didn't help. I've also gotten a lot better with DNF in books. I don't know if y'all could tell, I had quite a bit of DNFs this year, and it felt nice, I'm not going to lie. However, I have, separated just a regular DNF to like a soft DNF, and that's going to be something on my monthly reads on my Instagram. I will start noting that a lot more, because some of the other books that I've tried reading recently, maybe I'm just not in the mood, and I will eventually get back to it in the future. That's why I say soft DNF, because they're books I want to get back to, without a doubt, just not right now. And then going back to what I said earlier, I'm really happy that I've been reading a lot of manga. It's healing inner Denise. Because when I was younger, I wanted to read manga, but I had no access of reading manga until college, sometime after college. So, I'm healing myself in terms of that. Now, cons. My reading slumps. They were not it this year. I hated the fact that I was in a reading slump quite a bit this year, because I would try to read at most, and I just was not feeling it at all. Usually in past years, here and there, depending, it would, but it wasn't like on a consistent basis like it was this year. And on top of that too, like I also mentioned, I wasn't in the fantasy, thriller, or like horror mood, or even mystery mood. And that's actually the same with nonfiction as well. I only read one nonfiction, I'm pretty sure. Usually I would try to get to at least like maybe 2 to 5 a year, but when I read I Want to Die by One Eat the Bookie, I was like, you know what, obviously I've been wanting to read it, but like, this should be the first step to getting back into nonfiction, like I would usually do. There was a little bit of challenges here and there, but like, I got through it, and I've learned a lot of good things, and I really hope because of that push, I can read more nonfiction for 2026. Speaking of, my realistic goals for next year, I want to continue reading diverse books, but expanding it, because there are other walks in life, and I want to read their work. I don't understand why that is so looked down upon. I will never get it. It is good to also read outside of your lived experience too, and everybody's voices need to be heard. That is something heavily that's always number one for me, is to try and read diversely in any aspect possible. And also, yes, reading is political. Arts in general is political. So do what you will with that. I'm all for diverse reads, and if you don't like it, the X button's right there. You can go to another video. But just know on this channel, it will forever be diverse anything. And that is always my number one goal for every year. I do want to get back into my fantasy, thriller, horror, and nonfiction grind slowly but surely, just because I miss that a lot. And I've read a lot of good of those, of each of those books. So I really want to get back into it. Speaking of, continue reading indie authors. Need the love and support, especially as of right now too, considering AI. Buy from indie authors any way possible, because their stories are fantastic. But last but not least, but to not get on myself, because I know I had a rough reading year, the fact that I read anything is already a pat on the back, considering illiteracy in this fucking country. I'm still reading. That's what matters. It doesn't matter if I read 100 books or even one book or even 5 books. The fact that I'm still reading, you did that. So that is basically talking about this year's overview. For my reading, I really hope that there are more changes for me for next year, and considering this will be the first video going into 2026, I also need to make sure I stay to my word as well. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below, how did your 2025 reading year go? What you're excited about for 2026. I would like to know. Make sure you follow my social media. All of that will be in the description below. And until next time, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.